Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin ti naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week, we are going to visit with Stephanie Watts from Los Muertos Brewing in Puerto Vallarta. She's going to be telling us about the new restaurant, El Granero, over on Francisco Madera, over in the Emiliano Zapata neighborhood. She also is going to tell us about a cool company that she has. It's called Agave Villas. They rent out luxury properties all along the bay. We have Vallarta news and more, as well as the special 420 edition of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. So let's see what's happening this week, the 20th of April, 2022. And happy 420 Day. It was a big week in Puerto Vallarta. You had Easter, or Pascua. It came and went. There were an estimated 200,000 people in town for the festivities during the Easter week, which is an incredible number, seeing as, well, we just got out of a pandemic. But with all the crowds, you have to worry that there are bad elements that can mix in with the crowd, making, time in paradise a real nightmare. So, busy holiday means more theft, more pickpocketers. And there's professional pickpocketers out there. There's the mustard squirter gang out there. Those guys, they squirt mustard or whatever gross solution they happen to be, carrying around with them. They usually squirt it on your pants or your on your rear end, and then they pretend to be helping you. They try to clean you up, and as they're cleaning you up, they're cleaning you out of all your cash and all your money, your telephone, whatever you got in your pockets, and you would never even know it, while they're doing all that good stuff for you. If that ever happens, of course, you should recognize it right away. You should step back. You should call it to attention and get out of there immediately. Of course, with all these new rules, with the risk of being hauled away if you can't produce a passport or a tourist card, or a green card for residence, or temporary or permanent, the authorities can now stop you. They can ask for them. They can maybe throw you in jail if you don't have them. So getting ripped off could actually mean having to contact your consulate to replace that passport, or to get that new Mexican ID. You might just have to wait in line. It's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you time, of course, and the hassle of canceling credit cards, all that stuff, the heartache of losing your hard-earned cash. And worst of all, if you get your phone lifted, that we've all come to depend on those things. And, who can live without a cell phone nowadays? Can you imagine trying to navigate without one of those stupid things? Well, yeah. So anyway, you need to watch out. Keep your things out of reach. Don't call attention to yourself by wearing fancy jewelry or anything like that. Before I came down last time, I brought a whole bunch of different kinds of pouches that my passport could fit into. And a couple of them I thought that I could actually sew into the waistband of one or two of the pants, pairs of shorts that I have, but I opted to go for cargo pants instead, with the pockets that are well protected in front, where I could very easily fit a passport and that tourist card without, trashing them. So, and of course I could keep my phone also in a front pocket as well in those cargo pants. So that's a good choice for you guys. I don't know. Do they I guess they make cargo pants for ladies, do they? I don't know. Never mind. But for ladies, they do have, and a lot of them choose to use the cross body bag with zippers facing inwards towards their body. Anyway, these thieves are professionals, and they can lift a wallet without you feeling a thing. So, when I was, way back when I was in the family jewelry business, we operated a jewelry store in Burbank, California for 42 years, and I worked with my dad there for 36 of those 42 years before I went into the real estate business. And we were trained in seminars how to identify the criminal types. In the 80s, there were gangs, crews of Colombians who would do all kinds of stuff. Like, for example, they would stake out a jewelry store, and they'd wait around, and then they'd wait for some salesman to basically walk into the jewelry store selling merchandise to us, like watches or, a line of jewelry, wedding rings, whatever. And anyway, these Colombians would watch these salespeople toting around their display bags, their big display cases with them. And then while the salesman was inside the jewelry store with the owner of, person, whoever's the buyer at the jewelry store, these thieves would put a little pinhole in the salesperson's radiator hose out in the parking lot. And then they'd wait for the salesman to return to the car, load up all their stuff, and then they would follow him, home or, along the way. And ultimately, the car would overheat and they'd have to pull over. And during that period of time when they're arranging to, have assistance, these guys would get the goods. Now, this was before cell phones, right? So this was in the 80s. And it was a lot easier for them to manipulate and get around, because in order to get help, you kind of had to leave your car behind. Anyway, these groups some of these groups, they were harmless in that they were not armed. They were, thieves of opportunity. We would have these groups come into the jewelry store, and you'd have to pay attention. They didn't come in all at once. One would come in with a handful of watches for batteries or whatever, or bands, and then he would chat up, whoever happened to be there at the counter. And then while that was happening, then the shop would start to fill up with people. And then as each salesperson would be distracted just enough, then maybe one of these people, unattended by a salesperson, could slip behind a sales case or slip back to the vault. I mean, this is how they worked. But we got really good at identifying these particular types of situations due to the training that we got in those seminars. We had a secret phrase or a code that we used when one of the sales staff felt that there was some mischief going on in the store. If you thought that there were baddies, then you would basically ask out loud if Francis was coming into work today. And that was a tip that all the employees needed to, kind of pay attention to what was happening around them. Francis was my grandmother, who was dead, and she wasn't coming in. But a couple of times, I had to tell the guy with a fistful of watches, I had to say, we know what you're doing, and you should probably leave before things get ugly around here. In Spanish, of course, because I didn't want to startle any of the clients in the shop. That didn't happen to be crooks, but we were very, very lucky. Over the 42 years that Kessler Jewelers was in business in beautiful downtown Burbank, which of course was the butt of every joke that was told by Rowan and Martin. Anybody remember laughing? Yeah. Well, we had a jewelry store on the Golden Mall in beautiful downtown Burbank, just down the street from NBC Studios. They would be down there filming quite a bit. But over the 42 years, we only had 2 armed robberies. I missed them both, lucky me. One happened a couple of days before Valentine's Day. At the time, I was working at the store, and I was also going to college. I was going to Cal State Northridge at the time. And so I had some night classes. I was taking Spanish that night, and I left the store early to get to school. And before closing, 2 guys came in the store. One guy pointed the gun at my dad and the other 2 employees, while the other grabbed a bunch of diamond solitaires out of the front window. And the other one happened, actually, while my wife and I were in Puerto Vallarta. We were lying on the beach, getting some skin cancer, and then suddenly I felt a strong sensation that something really, really bad had just happened. I sat up and I told Debbie about it. But those were the 80s, and like I said, nobody had cell phones back then. It was nearly impossible to call home from Mexico and get a clear line back then, believe it or not. And as it turns out, 3 guys burst into the jewelry store. One pointing a gun at my dad and a customer and a sales lady, while the other 2 smashed the glass cases with sledgehammers that they had in athletic bags that they brought in with them. And then they filled those athletic bags with all kinds of goodies, and out the door they went. And I have a twin brother. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I've told you the story, but yeah, I've got an identical twin. His name is Gary. Yep, Gary and Barry. It's something that parents do to twins. I don't know why, but Gary was in the back. He was working there as well, and he was cleaning a client's ring or something. And then this all started happening. My dad called him, and of course he came out from the back, and the guy with the gun in the front of the store, he was startled and he nearly pulled the trigger. And that's probably when I had that weird feeling when I was lying on the beach. Now, lucky for us, there were people on the mall that day that were looking out for us. And long story short, the police caught the thieves. And, after a short car chase, all the jewelry was recovered. The store was a mess, but the expensive stuff was returned. And, yeah. As a matter of fact, the gunman actually said in court on the stand that he almost shot Gary. So, yeah, identical twins do have that little thingy going on. I'm just happy that Gary generally keeps out of trouble. I couldn't take too many of those events. Just saying. So anyway, where was I? Watch your belongings. Speaking of secret phrases and secret words, do you know how the term 420 got started as referring to pot? Well, it seems that 5 high school buddies in the early 70s in San Rafael, California, devised a secret code that they used to indicate to each other that they were going to meet a little bit later that day to smoke some weed. Saying 420 to each other, passing each other in the hallways, was their code. So now you know the rest of the story. Now, for those of you who are sensitive to my comments regarding the smoking of the cannabis, it is 420 for goodness sake, so, I'll give you a chance to fast forward a couple minutes. I'll wait. As you know, I have had several emails from listeners regarding the use of the hippie lettuce, that nasty weedy weed. And, I've had listeners asking questions like, can you smoke the rope in public? Will you get popped for possession, and so forth. And as you know, I've said before that if the cops get a hold of you with that weed, they kind of can do whatever they want with you, even though the laws have been passed that the marijuana is legal. If you're in Vallarta and you get caught with weed, you're screwed, okay? But in Oaxaca City, stoners have a bit more leeway. Here from Mexico News Daily, let me read. Don't bother pot smokers, Oaxaca City officials tell local police. Government gives okay to smoking marijuana in public places. This was published April 15, 2022. The use of marijuana for recreational purposes has not yet been legalized in Mexico, but pot smokers can find an oasis in Oaxaca City. The city government has advised police not to bother people smoking weed in public places in the state capital. In an official letter directed to members of the Planton 420, pro-marijuana protesters who have occupied the El Llano Park in recent months, and cannabis consumers in general, the city government reiterated its commitment to respecting human rights and noted that there is no municipal law that expressly prohibits the personal responsible consumption of cannabis in public spaces. The government acknowledged that the Supreme Court has ruled that laws prohibiting the use of marijuana are unconstitutional, but also recognized that the court argued there is a need to protect the rights of people who don't want to be or shouldn't be exposed to the secondhand smoke, such as children and adolescents. In that sense, we call on consumers to avoid consuming cannabis in places where there are girls and boys or there is express disagreement from other people, the April 13th letter said. In addition, the municipal authority urges municipal police officers to abstain from causing trouble to consumers. In case of disagreement from a person in the same space, proceeded only to ask customers to move to another place, it said. The city government's letter came in response to requests from Planton 420 members and others that they be allowed to smoke marijuana in public without being criminalized. Its publication coincided with the allocation of federal permits allowing 26 indigenous communities in Oaxaca to cultivate marijuana for medicinal purposes. The use of marijuana for medicinal purposes has been legal in Mexico since 2017. The Supreme Court has directed Congress to legalize marijuana for recreational purposes, but it has repeatedly missed deadlines to do so. And I have a link to that article from Mexico News Daily Online, which they lifted from El Universal, in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And transitioning from weed to microdosing. Look at that. From the San Miguel Times, expats are microdosing in San Miguel Allende. Expats here are experimenting with tiny amounts of hallucinogens as alternative medicine. Microdosing using micro amounts of recreational drugs, often LSD or psilocybin, has reached Mexico, and one of its epicenters is San Miguel de Allende, a popular destination for American and Canadian expats living abroad. 2 years ago, there were rumors of microdosing activities, using a 10th or 20th of a typical recreational dose on a regular basis in Mexico City, and today, San Miguel expats are asking about acquiring the drugs locally. The U.S. government had categorized both LSD and psilocybin as Category 1 drugs. Scientific research on them became impossibly bogged down in bureaucracy and restrictions. In the year 2000, a Johns Hopkins University psychedelic research group was the first to get regulatory approval in the U.S. to research microdosing on healthy patients who had never used drugs before. In recent years, a new form of substance abuse is becoming increasingly common among stay-at-home moms and CEOs alike, microdosing LSD. Microdosing refers to taking small fractions of what's considered a recreational dose of LSD or another hallucinogen like psilocybin mushrooms, also known as magic mushrooms. Reportedly, microdosing certain psychedelic drugs can improve mood, induce physical and mental stimulation, and encourage creative thinking. Emerging studies support the notion that hallucinogenic drugs taken in small doses or under the supervision of guidance of a medical professional can be used to treat mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and PSD. However, taking consistent and frequent doses of any drug, especially one as potent as LSD, is by no means safe for all individuals and may put certain people at high risk for developing addiction. And hey, I got a link to that article from the San Miguel Times in the show notes. But what about you vacationers, right? What about you guys? Well, don't worry, they haven't forgotten about you. How about a Mexican all-inclusive resort serving up magic mushrooms? Yeah, there's a number of them in Mexico. There's one in Tulum. There's a couple in Mérida. There's one in Playa del Carmen. And you can go and reset your mind with magic mushrooms at a luxury yoga retreat. Here's one here. Your day begins at 8 in the morning with meditation. Then at 8:30, you have yourself a yoga session. At 10 o'clock, you get a juice break. At 10:15, you get sound healing. At 11:15, you have a probiotic lunch. And at 12 in the afternoon, it's time for magic mushrooms. You have the magic mushroom session. And that lasts for 6 hours until 6 p.m. when you get yourself a light probiotic dinner. And I think that happens again and again, I guess for 5 days. I don't know. Let's see here. What do they say? They say that the main ingredient of this retreat is a couple of powerful mind reset magic mushroom ceremonies. Psilocybin therapy has been proven to relieve depression, provide deep insight that can lead to living life on your best purpose. Based on endless scientific studies about its benefits, we combine it with micronutrients from natural spices and teas to prevent the breakdown of the neurotransmitters and have a longer effect on most safe amounts. The environment is a key factor for achieving the best results on a magic mushroom retreat. That's why we select small groups of like-minded individuals, which creates a mastermind of wellness and peer support towards a balanced life filled with purpose. On the jungle ceremony will be offered optional smoke of ayahuasca. This form spares the nausea symptoms associated with the medicine. Very interesting. And looking over this one here in Playa del Carmen, depending on the room that you choose, the cost for 5 days is between $2,000 and $3,500 per person. So these retreats are popping up all over the world. I guess it gives a whole new meaning to taking a trip. Anyway, when my wife and I were in the Gulf of Thailand on an island for our honeymoon, we were treated to a magic mushroom experience by our hosts at one of these little bungalows that we stayed at for a week. That was 33 years ago. Yes, the rest of the world is finally catching up. We have some very sad news. We had some really sad news this week in Puerto Vallarta, and it has shocked the entertainment community to its core. It was the sudden and the unexpected death of Danny Menini, the co-owner of Act 2 PV. And the cause of death is being guarded as being sensitive. I can't really say all I know, but I can say that there was no foul play and that we are all in total shock. I linked the episode of the podcast that interview that I had with Danny back at Act 2 about 4 years ago, believe it or not, in 2018. About this time, 4 years ago, is when we did that interview, and I linked it in the show notes. It's a good interview, and it's even better to hear Danny's voice. So the show goes on at Act 2. Elizabeth Wiggins and David, they are there. My sympathies are with Danny's family here in California and in Puerto Vallarta, and to Danny's friends and all his family and crew over at Act 2 PV. My heart goes out to you all. And Danny, you were really something, I'll tell you. I miss you, amigo. The whole town misses you, buddy. They have started working on that unfinished abandoned building that we've talked about from time to time, right off of Tile Park. That big, huge building that has been just sitting there for decades, it seems. At any rate, it is deteriorating, and the last that I saw, it was on, we talked about this. It was on the market for like $10 million US. But they have, I don't know what they've done. Someone bought it or something's happening, but they have begun to do some rehab and some finishing of the project. And it seems, however, that it is a little bit of a safety hazard. This is from Vallarta Reporter Online. It says demolition puts pedestrians at risk. The demolition of the old and unfinished building located on Pino Suarez and Lázaro Cárdenas streets has begun, but without security measures for the people who walk along that sidewalk between demolished walls and debris falling onto the sidewalk. In addition to it being a busy area every day, tourist buses often drop off pedestrians there. Construction material trucks encroach on the sidewalk, forcing people to walk on the street, which is a risky situation, especially in the mornings when service trucks for gas, soft drinks, and beer block the way on the opposite sidewalk. Workers have been seen working throughout the building, dismantling the drywall and removing structures without yellow tape to indicate the risk. Throughout the perimeter of the demolition, there are risks with sharp metal sheets exposed with half-removed screws, just as people are walking by and unaware of the risks. So there you go. I have a link to that article from Vallarta Reporter, hidden behind a paywall, in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. So finally, that eyesore will be, well, it'll be something. Whatever it'll be something. Anyway, I will be in Puerto Vallarta next week. I arrive on the 27th, and then I leave and come back to Los Angeles on Cinco de Mayo. We are going to be having JR's birthday bash. It is set for the 28th, so that's going to be over at Gringo Loco over in the Emiliano Zapata neighborhood of Puerto Vallarta. You can find Gringo Loco on Francisco Madero 403. The festivities will begin at 5 o'clock with a band. I'll have my microphone to record the birthday boy and whoever else wants to chime on in. So it'll be a great party. Stop on by, and I'll be making an announcement in next week's podcast as to the possible meet and greet that we're going to have the following week. So stay tuned for that. But if you are in town, come celebrate JR's 81st birthday. Well, I think we should get to our guest, shouldn't we? Yes, we need to get to her right now. If you recall, I was asked by our friends Lisa and Billy over at one of our favorite orphanages in Puerto Vallarta, RISE, that's Refugio Infantil Santa Esperanza, over in the Benito Juarez neighborhood of town. And they asked me if, as a bonus to the sponsors of that fundraiser that they had a talent show. I'm sure you remember. We talked about it a bunch, and it was called So You Think You Can Rise. And they asked if I would have on my show some of these people who were sponsors, and if I would feature some of them and, talk about what they do. And one of these sponsors was Los Muertos Brewing, and their new restaurant, El Granero. Now, I've had Connor on the show, Connor Watts, the owner of Los Muertos and El Granero, twice. So I messaged him, and I said, "Hey, I want to catch up with you." And he said, "You know what? Why don't you interview my partner, my wife, Stephanie. So I said, yeah, that would be a great idea. And I am really glad that he did, because Stephanie is a very multi-talented lady. Not only is she involved in the restaurants over at Los Muertos and El Granero, but she has a really cool villa rental business. And she's an actress, too. So, you know what? Let's get to meet the other half of the family. Stephanie Watts, Los Muertos Brewing, and El Granero Restaurant, and Agave Villas, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Stephanie, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We know about your husband. Where are you from? What was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
I grew up in Maryland, in a suburb of Baltimore, about 45 minutes outside of Baltimore City, a little area called Hampstead. And that's where I was born and raised. My whole family's actually still there. I went to college in South Central Pennsylvania at Elizabethtown College. And then I moved to Park City, Utah for I went to visit a friend for a 2-week vacation and ended up being there for 17 years. And that is where I met Connor, my husband. He's actually from Park City. And then we ended up making our way to Puerto Vallarta via family friends of his. Mm-hmm. We actually came down here to vacation quite a bit when we were dating. And then we did a destination wedding here. And within a year of our wedding, we had moved.
Wow.
Yeah, we loved it so much. We were here for like 3 weeks for our wedding, and we were like, let's do it one day. We'll do it one day. And then one day happened faster than we anticipated, and here we are.
Yeah, and you're really here. I mean, all right, so we have Los Muertos Pizza, we have El Granero, where we are today, mm-hmm. and then you also have a little delivery place too, right?
We do, yeah. We've got Los Muertos Brewing as our main location, and we opened that in November 2nd, Dia de los Muertos of 2012. And then we opened a few years ago a secondary location on Francisco Villa. It's also Los Muertos Brewing, which started as takeout and delivery. But then a couple of years ago, we actually opened up a dining room there. So it's a full dining room in the back now. You can't see that from the street front. Uh-huh. But there is a full dining room at Los Muertos on Francisco Villa as well. And then last year, we opened up our new location, El Granero. We're here on Calle Francisco Madero 333. And so this is a family member of Los Muertos, but it is a little bit different. Our menu here is a little bit different, but you can get all of our full range of beers here. We've got, I believe, 12 on tap right now. Connor will have to confirm that. And then we also serve the Los Muertos pizzas here out of Granero as well. And then we've got same pub fare menu, but it is a little bit different. Yeah. Different sandwiches, pastas of the week, some more salads. We try to incorporate it's a little bit more of a healthy side as well. And so, then that new menu has been rolling out slowly over the past year, but it is pretty fixed now at this point, and we're ready for high season.
Yeah. Now this place, it's a big place. You've got a bar downstairs and another one upstairs.
We do, yeah. I don't know what our full capacity is as far as seating, because we haven't really have been able to seat full capacity yet due to COVID and like low season and all those other things. Yeah. So I don't know what our full capacity is. Connor would know that as well. But yeah, we've got a full bar downstairs. We've got, in addition to our beers, we've got a wine list menu now, as well as, a full bar with all of the cocktail makings. So we've got that downstairs, and then we've got another bar upstairs as well as a private room. So if anybody wants to do a private party for like 20 or 25 people, we can customize that to whatever they want to do, whether they want to come in for a sporting event and have a Super Bowl party type thing, or if they want to come in for a birthday or whatever it is, we can take care of all of those needs.
I saw that room too, and it's got a nice view of all the beer brewing.
Yeah, it overlooks the brewery, so it's got a nice view.
You get a good smell too while you're there, right?
Well, yes, especially depending on the day that you come. If you come on brew day, you'll definitely smell all the malts and such.
Yeah, but, yeah. All right, there you go. All right, so you've got a lot of things covered. I also saw you had a little area there for kids.
Eventually, yeah. That's in the eventual floor plan. Obviously, with everything that's been happening with the pandemic for the past couple of years, that has not come to fruition yet. Right. But that will be in our future at some point.
So you could bring the kids and have them not necessarily in the bar, right?
That is exactly the idea, so that the parents can come and enjoy some dinner for themselves, give the kids a place to go and play, and we'll see. We'll see how that plays out the next year or so, depending on how things go with the pandemic.
Right. Well, hopefully everything is going to go well. A lot of people in the airport, and it's been very, very busy.
Yes, we've definitely gotten busier and busier this year. I think our season, barring any major catastrophes worldwide or otherwise, I think this will be probably the best season that Puerto Vallarta has ever seen this year.
I happen to agree with you. All right, now you are involved with something else. You do something here that's not restaurant related.
I do, yeah. I have a business called Agave Villas, and we started a few years ago, and we rent luxury villas here in Puerto Vallarta is where we started.
Yeah.
And then we expanded into Punta Mita several years ago, and this year we just expanded into Los Cabos. So anybody who's coming down to look for a higher end property, with their families, or if they want to come down and celebrate a special occasions. We've got, our smallest properties here are 3 bedrooms, and they go up to 12 bedrooms here in Vallarta. All of our properties here in Vallarta are fully staffed. Most of our higher end properties in Punta Mita are fully staffed. In Cabos, it's a little bit different. But yeah, people come and they want to have a higher end experience, something a little bit more luxurious, something to celebrate a special occasion. That's the majority of what we do here. And we've got about 80 properties here in Vallarta, and I don't know, maybe 100, including condos, a couple of condos in Punta Mita, and then we've got about another 80 or so in Cabo at this point. So yeah, we've got quite a large selection to choose from.
Good to know. Okay,
Yeah.
That's really good to know. I mean, I get a lot of emails from people wanting to know where we can find a villa. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you say fully staffed, what do you mean by fully staffed?
Here in Vallarta, the minimal staff is typically daily housekeeping and a cook to provide 2 meals per day. But some of our larger homes and some of our most luxury properties have up to 12 people on staff. So you will have a butler, multiple housekeepers, multiple cooks, sometimes waiters in the house, etc. So
wow,
yeah,
that's a big production.
It is.
All right,
yeah.
So tell me about what's the biggest production that you've ever put together. Come on, tell me about that.
The biggest production as far as groups and house. Well, we can't share some of those things.
Well, you don't have to tell who the person is.
No. Some of our most, our highest end properties in Punta Mita are outstanding villas. They'll be priced in the price point of $15,000 to $20,000 a night for regular season, of 8 to 12 bedrooms, and those are the clientele that you can't really speak of.
Right, you can't say.
For privacy
Madonna
purposes.
was there, and whoever else was there. Right.
I shall not name.
I know you won't. But hey, how about no? I won't.
No, not today. Not today.
All right. So, but these are crazy. These are crazy places. Then there's some really outstanding, just palatial places.
Yeah, some of them can be. Yeah, for sure, some of them can be. Like our more modest homes, our smaller homes with 3 or 4 bedrooms will be in the ballpark of 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. And honestly, when it comes to the houses in Puerto Vallarta, even though they are luxury and even though they come with a full staff, really the price point is very reasonable. So if you're looking to compare doing a luxury villa with your family versus going to an all-inclusive resort, like a decent high-end resort, per bedroom, the prices are actually pretty equal. So, if you wanted to come and, these days with the pandemic, a lot of people don't want to stay in a hotel. There's nobody wants to go to a buffet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it depends on the person, obviously.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons we've done so well this year is because a lot of people just want to stay with their families, have a more intimate experience, have a more luxury experience, and because the price point is kind of equal, then they've been able to do that and kind of accomplish that with their families.
Makes a ton of sense.
It does.
So they just say, we're going to our compound in Punta de Mita. We'll see you soon.
Some, yes. There are, I don't want to oversell it that it's all crazy luxury like that, because there are people like you and me who come down here. My family, we've rented a villa for the holidays or whatever. We actually rented a villa for our destination wedding. That's how I came to kind of get into the business.
Yeah.
We got married at Villa Estrella Mar, which is in Lower Conchas Chinas. And it's an amazing experience. And if you've never done it before, it is, you'll never go another way again. To have somebody to be able to go down to the pool in the morning, not have to fight for your own lounge chair with somebody else in the hotel. You're only fighting your brother or, your sister, which you're going to fight with them anyway.
That could get kind of tricky, too.
And then have somebody bringing you drinks by the pool, and it's just your friends, and it's just your family. It's more intimate experience. Like, it's really the way to go in my mind.
Yeah, no kidding. I got to do that. I got to do that next time. I need to be spoiled. This, $20 a night Airbnb stuff has got to go.
It's exactly right.
What's the most luxurious property that you manage?
That we have in our portfolio.
Yeah.
We've got they're really hard to tell. So like in Punta Mita, that's where like our highest end properties are going to be. I would say our top 3 or 4 would be Casa Coco, Casa Aramara, Villa Tesoro, Villa Casa Tau. Oh my gosh, like the list goes on. Casa Fortuna, like the houses in Punta Mita will blow your mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have a link. I'll have a link to that in the show notes.
Yes.
So definitely go and check that out.
Yes.
And take note of the ones that she says are the really cool ones. Check those out too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like some of these houses have full bowling alleys in them and their own in-house spa and like their own theater rooms and like Casa del Oso is one. I don't know if I named that or not, but it's got its own like golf simulator in the house. Like you don't even have to leave. Like it's its own little resort just for you and your family.
Is it complete with crocodiles?
No crocodiles.
No?
Those are extra. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Oh, this is very cool. Okay, so I'll have links to all that in the show notes, you guys. You got to look at it. And if you are ever interested in renting out a place for your family or come down with your friends and stuff like that, what a great way to do it. What a great way to do it. So. There you have it. Stephanie is your gal.
Yes, definitely. We'd be happy to help. AgaveVillas.com is our website.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's leave the restaurants and the villas for a minute, and let's just go out into town.
Okay.
This is a restaurant here, and I know that you serve lunch and breakfast lunch and dinner at both of your places. So we're not going to really talk a whole lot about places specifically, but let's talk about breakfast. What's your favorite breakfast spot in Vallarta?
Well, Connor and I go out to breakfast every Sunday. We like to take our dog down to the beach. And so, I don't know, there's a lot of beachfront places that are great to just kind of sit back and relax on a Sunday morning. So we'll go down to El Dorado or sometimes Si Senor or La Palapa. We used to go to Daiquiri Dick's, but they've obviously been closed the past couple of months. I understand they're going to be opening again soon, hopefully, under new management.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to what that brings. So those are some of our favorites. If we're not on the beach, one of my top favorites is Coco's Kitchen.
Coco's,
their eggs Benny, like.
That's what you go for. The original eggs Benny.
I love a good classic eggs Benny. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very good. What about if you were going to go out for a steak somewhere? Where would you go for steak?
I don't really go out for steak that much because my husband makes such amazing steaks at
Connor.
home. So I'm kind of spoiled in that regard that I've got an in-house cook living with me.
What about sushi? What's your favorite sushi spot?
There's actually there's a fairly new place that is just off the Malecon on Morelos called Sendo. We took a girlfriend there for her birthday a couple of months ago. It was outstanding. The service there was fantastic. Not traditional rolls. I don't even know if they have traditional rolls. They might. But they basically ask if you have any allergies or likes or dislikes, and then they say, we'll bring you a tasting menu. And so it was like 7 or 11 courses. I can't remember, but it was really super delicious and the freshest fish I think I've ever had on sushi. It was outstanding.
Okay, and the name again is
Sendo, Sendo.
Sendo. And
I believe there's a location in the marina area for Sendo as well.
Okay, all right, cool. What about if you were going to go for like a seafood dinner in Vallarta?
Lots of seafood options in Vallarta, so that's a hard decision to make because regardless of where you go, you're going to get good seafood. One of my go-tos is going to be Joe Jack's, which is a local's favorite. It's a tourist favorite. It's constantly busy. So because Joe makes an outstanding fish and seafood dish for whatever, whether you're there for the fish and chips or whether you're there for like the snapper, that's the whole fish. Like it really can't be beat.
Okay, all right, very good. What about a brunch? What about a brunch in Vallarta?
A brunch in Vallarta, I'd probably those are my kind of Sunday goes-tos. Like down on the beach.
So it's
go
the
down
beach.
to the beach.
Right.
I go down to the beach.
Yeah.
We don't get. It's amazing when you live here. and you work, you don't necessarily get to the beach as often as people think that you would.
Yeah.
And so Sundays going to the beach is like our treat.
So that's it. That's your favorite brunch right down there.
Yeah, exactly. I love going down to the beach.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yes.
That's why people come here.
It's exactly right. That's exactly right.
For the bay.
For the bay.
If you were going to spoil yourself, if you were going to do something, and money was no object, and I don't mean like, staying at, at one of your villas, but you're going to spoil yourself for the day, what would you do?
For the day, I would, if I'm staying in town, I'd probably go up to the spa at Hotel Musai, Spa Imagine. That is got outstanding views. Their water treatment, I don't even know what they call it, like a hydro treatment or something that you kind of get before a massage. Before you even walk in your massage, you're already jelly. So if that's like, I'm going to stay in town and money's no object. Yeah.
This is that little Musawi, the little Hotel Musawi?
The High Musai, no, the Hotel Musai in Garza Blanca. Musai, like up down in Garza Blanca, like up on the hillside.
Okay.
They've got like a 5-star spa at the top. And it's like it's views of the bay and just outstanding service. Yeah,
Excellent.
That's my go-to.
All right.
For a spoil myself day.
I love it.
Yeah.
What about if you were going to take a day off and just go and come back? What would you do? Where would you go?
For a quick day trip, I'd probably just go out on the bay.
Yeah.
We like to get out on the water, especially this time of year, starting the whale watching. So if we can get out on the water and do a little whale watching or just, special occasions, especially, we like to rent a private boat and just go out and see what we can see, and which goes down to the South Shore. So you can go down to either Las Animas or Maraica or Key Mixto now. They've got their beach club down there. So, yeah, just getting out on the water is probably my go-to.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What about a 3-day? What if you had like a 3-day weekend? Where would you go? What would you do?
Discovered a place a couple of years ago south of here called Careyes, and that was really awesome. It's a interesting little place. It's kind of like a little cove. They've got really high-end villas and like a nice resort down on the water as well. It's kind of a secret still, but it's really beautiful in very unique ways. Their landscaping there is kind of indescribable, but I would say that would be a great place to go for a 3-day trip. Maito is obviously a really good option as well. So if you're looking to completely escape the crowds, Maito is a great trip. And of course, Punta Mita. I mean, if you're going to go and spoil yourself for a couple of days, get behind the gates and go enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Wow. When you go to Corrales, you probably have a car, but can you take a bus? How do you get down there?
I'm not 100% sure if the bus goes that far, but we have a car. Yeah, we would have a car. So I'm assuming that you could hire a car or rent a car for the day.
How far is it?
It's about 2.5, 3 hours down the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a little ways.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going for a 3-day, that's not so
Yeah. For 3 days, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Exactly.
That. If you had a word of advice for a first-time visitor to Puerto Vallarta, what would that be?
When we've got guests in town who are coming down for the very first time, one of the first, and even our clients, we actually recommend this as well. On one of your first days, take a food tour, like a walking food tour. Like you can go, like they start downtown, and it's a walking trip of downtown, so you kind of get to learn the lay of the land. You kind of get to learn things on the Malecon. You can learn things in Old Town. They've got tours all over the place. If you wanted to go to like PTL, they've got a tour in PTL. You want to go to Sayulita, they've got tours there too. But if you're really if you really want to get to learn Puerto Vallarta, then the food tour is a really nice walking tour of downtown. You get to check out some restaurants that you may not otherwise stumble upon. So it's a good way to kind of fill your first day and kind of learn the lay of the land.
Excellent. God, that's great. That's great advice. That's the first time I had anybody give me that advice.
Yeah?
I like that.
I think that's a really way to go. If you're really coming to town, and especially if you are the type of person who likes to explore an area, as your new place, and it's really the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a word of warning? Any words of warning for people traveling here?
People coming. I warn people to be careful on Easter week because it is going to be crazy, crazy, crazy busy.
Yeah.
Just because so many nationals are off as well, that it's not just we're really beneficial. We get the benefits here of all kinds of holidays. We get the benefits of the tourism during the American holidays, we get the tourism from the Canadian holidays, and we get the tourism from the Mexican holidays as well. Easter is one of those times, and Christmas actually as well, but Easter more so. Everybody's on vacation.
Yeah.
And so Vallarta is definitely super, super busy at that point. So also, if you are averse to having noise, don't stay in town.
Right.
If you are looking for something peaceful, go down on the South Shore or up in the marina or the hotel zone. And make sure you kind of get out and about and enjoy some things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you are a performer.
I am.
You are... You're in Mamma Mia.
I am. Yeah, we are in the third season of Mamma Mia this year. Well, I guess you could say that. We had most of the first season, and then we got shut down with COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then the second season was kind of hit or miss with the pandemic and whether or not we could open the theater. So, we are just starting our third season this year as Mamma Mia, and I play the role of Donna, which is the mother role, also known as what people's, the role that Meryl Streep played. No pressure, right?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. But yeah, so we're starting our third season there, and we've got most of the original cast has come back for all three seasons. We got a handful of new people this year, but it's a super, super fun show. People who don't even like musicals who have come and they love it. Even people who don't even love ABBA that will come and love it. So it's a super, super fun show.
And where is it? We're Act 2?
It's Act 2, on the main stage. And we are currently performing Thursday and Saturday nights. After the holidays, we'll go to 3 nights a week. So, we'll be there Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at Act 2 for Mamma Mia. But if you're not a theater lover, if you're a theater lover, even if you're not, there are some amazing, amazing acts at Act 2 and around town right now. The talent level here in Vallarta over the past 10 years has just gone insanely crazy, and it's really incredible. So if you're on vacation or if you live here and you're looking for something to do on a night out, definitely check out what's happening at the theaters in town, because whether or not you want to see a Broadway type show like Mamma Mia, or if you want to see something like if you're like the music from the 60s, there's a couple of shows from like Jersey Boys or It's My Party. There are some great acts that do Stevie Wonder type things, and Deanna Viamonte does an amazing Whitney Houston tribute. She's outstanding. But even like the acts at the Palm, and I hopefully Encanto will be able to get their acts up very soon too. So there's some really incredible talent out there right now.
Yeah, Encanto I think is over at Culture right now until I guess things get going.
At the moment, although they just announced this past week they're going to start opening up little by little.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll be getting things up. I think it's really going to depend on the construction of the bridge.
It's the bridge. That's the whole thing for them.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's wonderful to be in the presence of a starlet here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, hey, let's go back. Let's go back to the restaurants and to your villa business. Tell us again let's go over the restaurants again, the addresses, and where we can find all that.
Sure, no problem. Los Muertos Brewing Company is the original, and the I'm probably going to get this wrong. The website address is losmuertosbrewing.com. That's information for both the downtown location and the one on Francisco Villa. The downtown address is Lázaro Cárdenas 302. I don't know the exact address on Francisco Villa, but it is just off of Libramiento, about a half a block in on the right-hand side. And then El Granero is our new place, which is granero.com.mx. MX, and that is located at Calle Madero 333.
Okay.
And then Agave Villas is our villa business, and that is agavevillas.com.
Excellent. Okay, we'll have links to all those in the show notes. Of course, you can find that at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. I'll have a picture of Stephanie's smiling face. Maybe she'll even send me a picture of her on stage so I can share that too.
Maybe.
Yeah, come on, say yes. And Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. And,
thank you. It's my pleasure.
It's wonderful to finally meet you. I mean, Connor's okay, but you're prettier.
I know. Well, thank you. I'm sure he would appreciate that as well.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's nice to meet you as well.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you. What a talented lady she is, huh? I have links to the restaurant, including Google Maps, that will take you to all of those front doors. Get over to El Granero. They have a beautiful restaurant. It is delicious pub food, great bar, and bring up a group, bring yourself, bring a friend, bring a party. They got plenty of room. I especially like the tables. Well, I like the bar, but I especially like the tables on the upper level overlooking the street. They're really cool. Anyway, you got to get over there. I have links. I have pictures of the great food. And I also have links and I have pictures to Agave Villas where you can definitely, just like Stephanie said, you can treat yourself and your family and your friends to really unparalleled luxury right on the Bahia de Banderas, either in Los Cabos or Punta de Mita, or of course in Puerto Vallarta. You need to check it out for sure. Give yourself a treat. All right. Well, that should do it for today, 420. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. Until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me and click on the Contact Us tab and send us a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying, thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you're going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. And I have links to all of those in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, well, take the time and subscribe and follow and give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have the links to the places that we talk about. I have interesting pictures and more. All right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? So thanks to you, Stephanie Watts from Los Muertos Brewing and El Granero. Just a lovely restaurant. Grab a table, like I said, overlooking the street or overlooking those brewing tanks. And don't forget to look over at that website over Agave Villas the next time you're planning to bring down the whole crew. What a treat that would be to have your whole staff waiting on you poolside, your own villa. How sweet is that? I have links and pics in the show notes. And thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Connor, for suggesting that I interview her. Good choice, buddy. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta.